What is something that instantly killed the crush you had on someone? Story 1. She threw the popcorn on the floor as we got up to leave the theater, and not like dropped the bag, like flipped it and gave it a good shake for good measure. Story 2. I had a crush on a pale, black-haired guy named Wyatt in high school. He looked so interesting and intensely handsome at the time. I also loved that his name was Wyatt. I grew up watching Tombstone, and I thought that was the most amazing name for a guy. One day, a new girl came to school, and it started to rain. She was a harmless, free spirit type who was just happy experiencing life. Totally inoffensive and a little loopy, but genuinely sweet. It started to rain outside, and she, little nature-loving spirit that she was kind of wheeling around in the rain, enjoying herself, feeling the water, indulging in petrichor, and a group of us were watching from the porch. Wyatt, who up until then had seemed like an accepting, kind person, announced, "I hope that dumb bitch gets hit by a car." That was my first lesson in understanding that people you think are beautiful are not at all beautiful. Some of them are just hateful. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with him after he dropped that bon mot. Story 3. When we were young, I gave her a Valentine's card. She smiled while looking into my eyes, ripped the card without opening it, and walked away while tossing it in the trash. It hurt terribly, but it snapped me out of that hypnotic trance. I learned personality is everything, and it's best to move on quickly. Story 4. I had a crush on a boy named Troy. I first met him during summer camp in elementary school, but we lost touch. Many years went by, and in 10th grade we discovered that we attended the same high school. I would see him around and still found him so cute. My crush on him had lasted all these years. We would hang out in group settings and occasionally catch up throughout high school, but we never hung out alone. Finally, about a month before graduation, we agreed to spend time together one-on-one for the first time. Just for reference, I'm black and Troy is white. One evening I was in his car and we ended up making out in an In-N-Out parking lot. My heart was pounding with excitement. After we finished, he said, "God, you'd be the perfect girl if you were white." He then went on to tell me how excited he was to go to college in Ohio because there wouldn't be any black people there. He thought what he said was hilarious, but I was disgusted. It was one of the rare times in my life when I was speechless. I just wanted him to drive me home, but honestly, I was frightened. Even after we graduated, he continued to reach out to me, but I ignored him. I'm pretty sure he knew his words had offended me, which is why he kept trying to contact me. Eventually, I just blocked him. My decade-long crush on him evaporated in an instant. Story 5 had a crush on my superior. And one day we were talking about the horrible and horrifying news of a girl being sad in a bus by a group of men and left to die. This was the New Delhi case that broke India, and it was making headlines everywhere. I remarked that it was just such a horrifying news, and he said, "What time was it? And what was she wearing?" At that moment, all affections for him went out of the window. I was so mad at him and was this close to slapping him for making such a misogynistic statement. Story 6. I had a crush on a guy I worked with. We were both college students. He was going for high school education, and I was going for early education. He started dating this girl who was still in high school, like he's going to be a high school teacher. Story 7. I had a crush on a boy that lasted from 2nd grade, so about 8 years old, till the beginning of 6th grade, 12 years old. I was head over heels for him and only got to have fleeting moments together that never really lasted long. Until 6th grade, we finally had a class together and I got to be his seatmate. I was over the moon for all about 5 minutes. He just kept talking and talking and fucking talking. When I'd finally get a word in edgewise, he'd keep one-upping anything I brought up. So yeah, my 3-year-long crush died in a matter of minutes after actually talking to him, LOL. Story 8 went to meet his family. Within 2 minutes, he kicked his family dog. His dad then said, "Bad dog," and took the dog outside, making it pretty clear where he learned the behavior. I wanted to take the dog with me so badly. It's been over 10 years, so not sure she's still with us, but I would think of her from time to time. Story 9. There's a girl I met when I was 14 at Anime Expo and had this really magical, romanticized, innocent, young love summer type of feel. These were the early days of the internet. We kept in touch over AIM, and one day she sends me a video of a guy getting decapitated alive by some soldiers, and she wrote LOL. Pretty much killed all the magic for me and stopped talking to her after that. Story 10. Recently hooked up with this dude. I was feeling self-conscious and asked if he found me attractive after. He said yes and went on about his attraction to me. Finished it up with, "Even though you're not the hottest girl I've ever seen." Like, sir, that is not what I asked. IDK. That comment just felt unnecessary and did not make me feel great. Story 11. Not quite the same, but my boyfriend at the time, ex now, Avi, and I were walking home and happened to pass by a homeless man holding a sign towards the road. For some reason, despite the fact that the homeless dude never even looked at us, he decided to start talking about how much he wanted to punch him. Broke up with him immediately afterwards. Story 12. I had a slight crush in this guy, Daryl. I saw him at the skating rink and started talking to someone he was with. IDK if I had even talked to him at this point, but we had a lot of mutual friends. All of a sudden he turned around and said, "Damn, you're ugly." Now I was a 12-year-old girl and knew I wasn't ugly, but it still destroyed me. Even if I was, why would you say that to someone? I was crowned prom queen and he was there and I wanted to say something smart so bad, but I didn't. Isn't it weird that one comment like that sticks with you even 31? OMG, I just did the math. Years later. Fuck that guy, he follows me on IG and he married my friend. Story 13. A guy I had a crush on was driving me home from a party, and as we were driving I saw a bunny rabbit about to cross the road and I told him to slow down. He didn't stop or even slow down. He hit the bunny. I never talked to him again after that. Also, there were no cars by us. We live in a slow neighborhood. Story 14. Had a crush on a girl in high school but didn't share any classes. I just got into my car and it started to rain, hard. I saw the girl start to run into the lot, trip and fall, spilling her books. I got out of my car to help her up and gather her books and she yelled, "Get the F dollar and then away from me!" It couldn't have been more obvious that I was a fellow classmate. Killed that crush instantly. Story 15. I had a crush on this girl in college who was our neighbor and an aspiring model. My crush just drained from my body when I saw her do a line of cocaine. Like, something in my brain made her visually less attractive after like that girl in Seinfeld, where she looks awful in good lighting. Was like looking at a different person. Story 16. When I was in college, I met a guy at a party. Thought he was so cute and was so excited when he asked for my number. We texted a little and he asked to hang out one night. I told him I couldn't because I was working late. I was a waitress and wouldn't be off until after midnight and I'd be so tired. He wouldn't take no for an answer. Not only did he want to hang out, but kept insisting I go to his house. At one point he told me he would wait up for me with a bottle of vodka ready to give me a back massage and cuddles with a winky fance emoji. I got instant ick. Way too strong, way too soon. Story 17. Had a crush on my best friend for years in high school and shortly after. In love with her, not reciprocated back, things fell apart. Reconnected. She liked me and we dated shortly. It started falling apart. Then I heard her tell me she didn't believe in evolution and it completely made the infatuation with her disappear. Story 18. Overheard him with his friends saying stupid generalizations about women. The kind of things some guys just repeat without actually experiencing it with women, like, all women want is your money for nails and dinner. They're always seeing someone on the side, etc. The crush evaporated instantly. From then on, I just noticed every little ignorant thing he said, so I stopped being friends or even acquainted with him at all. Story 19. When he got stupid around a girl our other roommate was interested in. She was polyamorous and using them to try and be near me. One night I went to bed BC, I had to work, and my one roommate and I had been hooking up a bit seriously. He somehow convinced her to come hang out, I think hoping he could mess around with her. At the time I was led to believe she was already coming over for our roommate. So he and I were cuddling in my bed, and then as we were about to kiss, he got a text from her that she had arrived and needed to be let in. He bolted so fast and excitedly with no notice of me, annoying. Then she really wants to come in to see me? I pretended to be asleep and she kissed my cheek. Then he went to kiss me too, and I just rolled away. She laughed at him. They went out on the balcony for her to have a smoke. My window was open and she asked him why I gave him the cold shoulder. I think she's just really jealous of you, ha ha ha, because I invited you to come hang out. That's how I found out he invited her, when he told me our roommate had. Nothing turns me off more than someone accusing me of jealousy because they're upset I'm not getting competitive with someone trying to get the attention. Story 20. Had a thing for this girl until she sent back food at an Indian restaurant BC. It was too spicy after being told it would be spicy and there was no other way to make the dish. She acted super condescending and demanding and it embarrassed me a ton in LOL. You could tell she never worked for service, haha. Story 21 was in high school and had a crush on this one boy. We were kind of friends. Then one day he told me about how he recently found out his best friend is gay, and proudly confessed he made fun of that friend and told him he was disgusting and never to talk to him again. I got up from the table we were sitting at, told him off, and walked away. Never spoke to him again. Story 22. I broke up with my ex just after he told me that before me, he was in a relationship with a 15-year-old girl. but that they broke up because she wasn't able to understand how the relationships were, and that after they broke up, she got hooked. He was a dream until that happened. I wasn't able to stop thinking that that wasn't okay. And about that poor girl. I lived something similar when I was a teenager. I know how damaging is the grooming. Story 23. Met a very attractive man online. Of course, stupid me. Seemed like an amazing father. Played guitar, led a men's Bible study group, had a good job and was a notary. Talked for a few weeks, then finally met up at a dog park, and I had my dogs and my sister with me for safety reasons, obvs. Hit it off great. Went on a couple more dates. He came over to my house for pizza and movie night. Once again, my sister came too because I'm untrusting AF. And it went great, so my sister went home. He stayed the night. Things happened. But the next morning, I wake up and he's gone. This dude got up and vacuumed my living room, picked up the pizza night trash and folded blankets, took a shower in my bathroom, and then left to go get coffees. In an established official relationship, it would be something I'd have seen as super sweet, but first visit, dude had to go through my laundry room to find my cleaning supplies, vacuum, my shower. Then you clean my front room and stuff when you really don't even know what room was what, let alone where anything goes. And the coffee thing, I could see that was nice. However, dude also got my address online to send me flowers to my house like a week and a half after talking instead of just asking for it. That low-key freaked me TF out too. Anyway, I had a weird feeling and thought maybe I was just scared because I was actually falling for this dude. Well, my friend took it upon himself to do some digging. He's like a big brother to me and always has been. Ta-da to you! Romeo was in a drunk driving accident with his sister and they hit a tree. He left her there to die while he bolted. She did die too, BTW. He was never charged. Then I found out a few other things that just sketched me out and that he wasn't allowed unsupervised visitation with his kids. I broke it off almost immediately when I verified the wreck thing. I'm all for sweet gestures and whatnot, but bro, no. First time visit and you're basically rummaging through my house while I'm asleep? Nah, freaky. Last time I seen anything about him, he was married to a girl who has dated 3 of my other exes too. Life is a trip, man, but I just feel bullet TF dodged. He was always talking about how he was no BS and straightforward and stuff, and now I know why, cause there was lots of BS. Story 24. Girl in high school I had a crush on. I spotted her at one of the informal dances the school puts on a few times a year in the gymnasium on a Friday evening. Worked up the balls to ask her to slow dance with me during one of the love songs. She had one of the worst smelling breaths I've ever smelled. I seriously doubt she had ever been to a dentist. It was an instant turn-off, as I was almost suffocating while holding my breath the rest of the song. Story 25. We were in year 11, so about 16. 17 years old and in class, everyone was just chilling in their little groups. And suddenly I hear the guy I had a crush on shouting about something, basically throwing a tantrum. He threw a chair and his backpack across the room, proceeded to pick up his laptop, prepare to throw it, have a change of mind, place it down gently, storm out of the room, and slam the door. My crush was gone in that moment. Story 26. Every story she told me was about some argument/conflict/drama, and in every story she considered herself to be the paragon of virtue and honesty, while everyone around her would be vindictive, cruel, and out to get her. I recognized the behavior because my mom does the same thing, and I hate that kind of constant self-victimization. Story 27. I fancied this guy years ago, and he eventually asked me out. We stopped to get petrol, and whilst he was filling the car, a chap I knew spoke to me. Well, this guy I fancied went nuts. "Who are you talking to her? You shut your mouth and get back in your car." I was mortified, and as soon as I got home, I binned him. Geez, what a total knob. Story 28. I had a crush on this guy in high school, and my friends kept telling me to approach him and talk to him because that was how he would have known I existed. Obviously, he just couldn't have fallen in love with someone who has never known before. So I gathered the courage, and my friends watched on as I went to make my move and say hello. Tell me why in the middle of our conversation he picks his nose and eats the booger. Whatever feelings I had for this guy definitely went out of the window and got hit by a truck or something. Story 29. I had a crush on my colleague, a smart, gorgeous, and outspoken blonde software engineer who became my workplace rival. She was way out of my league and engaged to a nice but schlubby guy before her first day on the team, so I kept it to myself and dated others. We became friends. 2 years later, she told me she didn't love her husband anymore and was getting divorced. Part of me was secretly excited to have an opportunity at last, but she was vulnerable, so I prioritized being a good friend. One night, she opened up more. She'd been cheating on her husband for 6 months with another married colleague she'd been conspicuously chummy with. But this married guy ended up not wanting a long-term relationship with her. She was crushed. Her husband had no idea about any of it, and her divorce lawyer advised her to keep it that way. She earned more. We had a moment that night, but despite my long unrequited crush and my horniness, I let it go. I'm not a very emotional or emotive person, but after she left my apartment, I cried for her sad sap husband, and I cried because she was so shitty to him. She told me over lunch soon after that she wanted us to be together, but I said cheating was a deal breaker for me. We met our respective current spouses soon after, and worked together for another 12 years. I was right to pass on her, but sometimes still feel disappointed. She wasn't the one who got away, but I lost the person I thought she was. Story 30. When they can't refuse to see outside of their own experience. A lack of empathy and compassion. Finding out how hateful they were to others. People act all nice, and when they get comfortable, they start to say racist things or cast terrible judgment on PPL. They don't know for things that are none of their business. And when you call them on their bullshit, they get defensive like children. Such a turn-off. Story 31. First week at university, I'm in line at the bookstore. Girl in front of me. I'm overhearing the conversation and everything is going well in my head. Then, she talks about how she loves jazz, and she loves the same vocal jazz group that nobody else has heard about. Insert Vince McMahon exploding meme. This is 1987, so it's not like there is an internet that links anyone together. I was the only person in my high school with this favorite band, and I never expected to find anyone else. I'm trying to get the right words in my head, but before I can say, "Sorry for overhearing, but can I accompany you to the cafeteria for lunch?" she says, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to get completely blasted every weekend. I only did it 3-4 times in high school." I never had any prohibition about alcohol, no problems with having an underage drink in school, but it was never my mission to binge drink, and I instantly kept my pickup line to myself because I did not want to end up cleaning puke off of someone, even if they were a great match. By the way, she's had multiple divorces now. By today's words, you might say she was on the wrong side, the How I Met Your Mother, hot versus crazy line on the graph. Story 32. Back in the mid-00s, I had a crush on who I assumed was just a kind, timid, and unassuming pretty girl in school who was on the fringes of the popular crowd. Turned out she was a spoilt, rotten rich kid. Dad bought her a Porsche for passing her driving test, and personality turned rotten overnight. Years later, she lives in a foreign country as a product of nepotism and living life as an influencer, last I saw.